I'm kicking it with Elma. Tune in, baby.
Can I kick it? Yes, you can. Can I kick it? Yes, you can.
I'm Elma, and kicking it with me today is Us3 jazz rap band producer Geoff Wilkinson. Formed in London in '92, his first album, Hand on Torch, received platinum status in the US with classics like Cantaloupe and Took a Youth's Rhythm. He's just dropped his fourth album, Questions, which has a strong Latin flavour, and recently returned from touring 14 countries. I caught up with Geoff in London's Covent Garden, and over a pint of Guinness, I asked him about the process of making music, the current state of the music industry. I started by asking him what he enjoys about touring.
Touring can be a very frustrating experience. The travelling is fantastic and getting to go to see lots of different cities and everything, but the frustrating thing is quite often you don't see them. Quite often you just see the inside of a venue and then you're back on the bus as soon as the gig's finished and travelling to the next venue. So it's nice when you have a day off of exploration, but quite often you only have a couple of hours free during the day, so you always try and get to see the city when you tour. The best thing about touring is probably the food, actually, like sampling the sort of local food wherever you are.
Is there a big difference between audiences, say, Spanish and Finnish, or even you toured Japan last year, a big difference between the audiences there?
Not particularly. The Japanese audiences, for example, are a bit more reserved, but I think that's their character of their people to start with.
Yeah.
But once you get them going, kind of, they all go together, kind of, and then all of a sudden they switch from being quite docile, clapping politely, to standing on the tables and going mental. The European audiences, as long as you kind of warm people up, I think, we've always managed to get a pretty good reaction from everyone.
I saw you play recently at the Jazz Cafe, and it was an excellent gig. I really enjoyed it. Cracking vocalists, excellent musicians, but one thing intrigued me, you're there on stage and you're on your laptop. What are you doing on your laptop?
So, I'm running the beats. It used to be, I used to have a completely live band with a live drummer as well. But I started thinking that wasn't really a true representation of the music, really, because I've never used a live drummer in the studio or on any of the albums. And Us3 albums have always been about the mixture of technology and live musicians anyway. So I thought it would be a much truer representation of it live, to do it using the beats themselves, and the rest of it is completely live. So there's actually 9 people on stage, which is quite a lot.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, obviously Us3 is a bit...
It's a bit of a misnomer, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
There's never been 3 people in Us3.
Your fourth and latest album, Questions, it's very heavy on the Latin groove. What was the influence there?
Well, I've always been into Latin music, I think with the third album I sort of explored that a little bit, and then with this album I sort of brought that out a bit more to the fore. There's 2 main things I was listening to when I made this album. One, I was listening to a lot of the stuff that Timbaland was doing, and I was very interested in the way he was kind of single-handedly changing the face of R&B by not only using odd samples and source material for his bits and pieces that he was using, but also his beats were different as well. And I thought it would be interesting to combine what he was doing on that side with the jazz thing that I do as well. And the other thing that I was mainly listening to at the time as well was a lot of Latin pianists. That seemed to be like the Palmieri brothers in particular.
Where are they from?
The Palmieri brothers? I'm not actually sure where they're from, if they're Cuban. So I made a lot of records in New York in the late 60s, early 70s. And Charlie Palmieri in particular, who's a bit wilder than his brother Eddie. I was really into that, and I thought it would be intriguing to kind of marry that kind of early 70s Latin jazz thing with the sort of Timbaland beat type thing as well, so that's what I tried to do.
It works well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to have a sip of your Guinness?
Yes, thank you.